Afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I just realized that I didn't embed the program into the Bald Truth website, so the three doctors who are watching probably won't be able to find the broadcast, so I should make sure that or who normally would like to watch, I should probably make sure that it happens. Guys, welcome to the broadcast. So great to be here. I'm a little close to the mic. This is the Hair Loss Show. It is our weekly, fun, little podcast, which is not really a podcast because I'm not really putting it out there on podcast formats. You know, I always consider this to be an internet broadcast or a stream. And since there's no more iPods, I kind of think, shouldn't we change the name back to internet broadcasting? This is a real call-in show. It's a broadcast.
I don't see why not. Sure, let's do it. Change it to whatever.
Yeah.
Podcasting.
It's not going to take. It's not going to take because Joe Rogan grabbed onto the term podcasting and it's sticking like glue. That's it. It's over. It's a limited term.
But it's confusing because like you talk about podcasting and people think, oh, okay, so it's something I can just listen to while I'm driving, which you can.
Yes.
But there's a video element to it as well. So it is more like,
and there's
you can't nail that down.
There's also a call-in element to it. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number.
Which is interesting. So, but
But,
personal problems.
Yeah, we can call it an internet broadcast. And there was a time back in the day, I probably shouldn't get into that, but I was working on something with Andrew. And, the whole term internet broadcasting was something that I thought that we should put out there. Apparently that wasn't a good idea because everyone grabbed on the podcasting. But it may not be too late to change it. And, my hope is, I really have no hope for it, honestly. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Phone number is 888-659-3727. Let me see if I
have no hope.
Yeah, let me see. I'll tell you, but I have no hope. And I'm going to try to multitask while I am doing an opening here. And guys, if you're having trouble hearing me for some reason, let me know. My levels seem pretty good, but I am a little distracted. I love a lot of the doctors that I work with. When I say love, I think they're genuinely good people. In general, they understand our message. They're comfortable with my personal message of surgery is a last resort, which I know is your message as well, Joseph.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're comfortable with kind of the way that we present surgery to the world by, telling the truth that, this is a very limited procedure. And I'm glad you had Sever on the program on your video, and he actually said, this is a very, hair transplant surgery could buy you time, and it really depends on when you get it done. But the general theme is always the longer you wait, the longer you're able to wait, and the longer you're able to maintain the hair that you have through medication, and the longer you wait, really the longer you're going to be able to enjoy your results from a hair transplant. And if you start too soon, it's probably going to be pretty short-lived, meaning could it last a decade? Maybe. Will you be happy for that entire decade as you see things diminishing over time? Probably not. Because you just got 5,000 grafts packed into your fucking hairline, and you think that's going to last forever. And if it does somehow last forever, what's happening behind that hairline is no bueno.
Yeah, see, but you're discounting the fact that, once everyone learns about pyrolutamide, then they're good.
That's you know what? Fucking man, when you're right, you're right, Joseph. I forgot all about the miracle cures that are coming out.
Exactly. Yeah.
The miracle
These,
the miracle cures
these kids got all the answers.
Yeah, the miracle cures that have been coming out for almost 30 years. By the way, the miracle cures that everyone was telling me about on the radio back in 1998. Hair multiplication, right around the fucking corner, 1998.
That's right.
Copper peptides.
That's right.
Everyone was selling them. 1998. And you know what? They are back, baby, and better than ever. And all the peptide guys, the peptide gurus, are now saying it's blood flow, people. Everything we thought about hair loss, throw that shit out the window. It's all about blood flow, and peptides now will cure your shit.
I love that. I love the Insta reel that you've got out there, where the guy, I don't even know who this guy is, but they are on these fake podcasts. It looks like these fake podcasts.
Well, that's actually a real podcast. That's actually a real podcast. And a big podcast.
Is it a real one? Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is another one where this guy who's supposedly a doctor is talking about hair fibers being some sort of cure, and that's a total fake podcast.
Probably.
And they have the guy sitting to where he's not looking straight at the camera, he's looking off camera as if he's talking to someone, and there's no one there. There can't be anyone there. But the one that you did was absolutely brilliant in showing the stupidity of this industry, where he's saying we now know why people lose their hair, as if it's some sort of recent discovery. It's because of blood flow. Really?
But what's interesting about this?
I feel so stupid.
I forget his name. I've seen him around. He makes all the podcast rounds like everybody else. It's a very kind of incestuous type of a situation. I'm trying to embed this fucking show. Let's see if I can make this happen. It is not allowing me to do it. Why is that happening? It's so weird. Okay, let me. This is a real program. It's a very well-known bodybuilding, workout podcast. They have all the usual suspects on, meaning, all of the great well-known health influencers, from bodybuilding to, guys like Dave Asprey, to people like, so it's all the same, Brian Johnson's, it's all the same, the same guys. And every once in a while they fill in the gaps by having someone who may have made some noise online, who has some sort of bizarre credentials. This is the peptide guy. I'm not going to mention his name. Now, I'm not saying my hair is so wonderful. All right? I get it, people. It's a Trump the earlier situation. But you can literally see what this guy's thinking. And he's talking about his incredible just wealth of knowledge in the hair loss space. And that if it truly is blood flow, those peptides should fucking be working on him. I'll tell you that. But it just goes around in circles. And the problem is these guys are legitimized by these really big podcasts. And these podcasts, they don't know shit. It's not that they don't.
Yeah, they know nothing.
They know what they know about their expertise. Why can't I share this, dude? I'm trying to get the embed code. Okay, let's do this. Copy. They know about their expertise, and then they come on, and what happens is they need content. So they get all the usual suspects who make all the podcast rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same conversation with different people, with different hosts.
Right.
And you see the same misinformation on everything. Everything. And when they enter into our world, it's like, fuck, guys. So I do my best to point out the insanity of it or the stupidity of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are people who are on my Instagram who are like, this guy really knows his way around peptides. He's an expert at this and that. Maybe. Maybe not. What does he really know about peptides? What do you know about peptides? What are peptides? And exactly what types of peptides help with hair loss? Because everyone's pointing to copper peptides. And they're pointing
Is
to
this something you want
peptide.
to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this something you want to avoid after swimming? Is getting in the peptides so it doesn't pull you out?
You don't want to be in the peptides.
Oh, sorry, that's
Now
a
look,
different tide. Sorry.
there is evidence that certain peptides can benefit us in certain ways, our biology in certain ways, help to heal, tendons and joints and, inflammation, all that stuff. Nothing has been shown to grow hair. And whatever was shown to grow hair has been shown to grow hair maybe, in a petri dish, maybe on mice back in the day. And every single fucking peptide product was sold as a nutraceutical type of thing, a topical, a cosmetic. I'm not going to name them because there were like three major products. One big one started with a P back in the day. And I had a couple of questionable things advertising on my show at the beginning. And I say questionable, non-FDA approved stuff, where I would say, look, this product is not FDA approved for hair loss. So if you're not doing well on finasteride and you're not doing well on minoxidil and you still want to try something, this has the possibility to help lower your DHT. That's it. I'm not even naming the product. They're still around. But I would always couch it by saying that. But I couldn't take the peptide product because I knew it was bullshit, like complete bullshit. You weren't lowering DHT. You weren't doing anything that you need to do to stop your hair loss. You were counting on some unique science, some unique data that was presented in a very limited fashion in very small studies that were funded by the manufacturers of the products.
Mm-hmm.
Got this guy, Dr. Picard. Remember that guy? No relation.
Yep. No relation. Engage.
So anyway, I was able to do the rant, and I think I was able to also simultaneously embed your show. And I call it your show because it's on your page on my site.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, there you go. Well done, Spence.
What's interesting is my first exposure to copper peptides was after my first repair surgery in 2002, and it was handed to me in a spray bottle as a post-surgical recovery agent.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with regrowing hair.
Yeah. There is some evidence showing that it could help with post-surgical recovery, and still, to this day, most doctors are not using it based on they think it's negligible at best.
Yeah, yeah, and with the cost that's involved with it, it's definitely a waste of energy. Spraying that bottle, because this was 21 years ago, my first repair surgery, and it was like $100 for the bottle. And I remember thinking that was like my first introduction into the logic of post-surgical or surgical recovery options, where it's like, well, if you're a medical clinic, if you're a medical facility, and you have something that can improve and speed up the recovery time of your patient, why is it a bucket list item, or not a bucket list, but a menu item that's an option for the patient to purchase? I never understood that. It's like, isn't it your duty to make sure that your patient has the best healing possible, to have the best outcome possible? Like,
of course it is.
They're coming to you for surgery.
Why isn't it upsell?
And then after surgery, you're upselling products to make that surgery that they just spent thousands of dollars on be better.
If you really want this to work out best for you, we suggest a $1,500 round of PRP and these nutritional supplements that we're making a really big margin on.
Yeah, that just happens to have our name on them.
Right.
Sometimes.
I mean, now there's a lot of people now that are selling the number one dermatologist recommended brand of nutraceutical in the industry. People are so fucking stupid. They really are. They don't even know what that means. All you have to do is send out a goddamn survey to enough dermatologists and have one question that says, would you recommend this to your patient? All they have to do is say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the most surveys filled out, you're number one, brother.
And you can narrow that down even further into different classifications to where you can still be saying number one dermatologist recommended.
Yeah,
it's just a racket. The whole thing's a racket.
It's a great system, and I have to tell you, I love America, brother. I love America because when it is time for me to sell out, you know how easy it is. It's like taking candy from babies.
Yeah.
Guys, phone number 888-659-3727. We had all lines lit. Now we have some lines lit, but call in. We have lines open. I'll take your call in a second, caller. Guy contacted me, and he was nice about it this week. Usually he's not quite as nice. Very nice about it. And he says, he really appreciates me warning, he's been following me for a while, he said. A while, mind you. Mm-hmm. Really loves what I do. And, putting out all the warnings. But it would really be helpful if you could recommend the good doctors. And I'm just thinking, if you were following me for a while and just maybe watched one fucking broadcast or scrolled a little bit on my Instagram page, you would see that 23 years ago, I founded an organization where we kind of do just that. We don't recommend them, but we've put them in a place where you guys can start, a safe place where you guys can start to do your research. That's what my whole gig was about back in the day. It's like, these guys are fucking butchers. We got to separate these guys from all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it's really great. Thanks for the warnings, but please, can you fucking hold my hand and tell me exactly which doctor to go to? Can you do that for me?
That's the best.
So I pinned a post about the organization that was already up on my page that anyone could have seen, where I talked about it a little bit on the show, and I pinned it to the top. Now my hope is that I don't continue to get these silly questions. Now if you're watching this, the guy that wrote me, it was a very nice text, one of the nicer ones. I usually get, not helpful. How about you tell us who to go to? All right, Joe.
Lazy.
It's unbelievable.
Lazy.
Even if they just simply looked up my name and found their Wikipedia, whatever was written on Wikipedia, which is pretty accurate now for the most part, I guess. And they would find the organizations. Oh, wait a second. This guy founded these organizations. Let me check it out. Boom. Whole bunch of doctors. It's as easy as that.
But are they the best?
Yeah, that's the thing. Are they the best? And are
they the best?
Your personal recommendation ensure.
And which one of these are the best of the best of the best?
But this is great. But who would you go to, Spencer?
Exactly.
Jesus.
Which is a great segue into the subject matter of today's broadcast.
Callers, hold on. Joe now wants to talk. Hold on.
No. If we've got a caller, we can go to them, and I can talk about it afterwards.
All right. We may want to do that
because
these guys are holding on. Don't want to be rude. Hey, caller, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe and Spencer. It's Bob from Southern California.
Bob from Southern California.
Bob?
How are you, brother?
Doing pretty good. So I'm about 6 weeks post-FUE, and I'm really surprised that most of the grafts haven't shed yet. Many have grown. This is what's weird. Many have grown to like almost a half an inch already. So I'm just kind of wondering, is this normal, to shed some and not others? I would say maybe, if I were to put a percentage on it, maybe 25, 30% have shed starting around week 2. And I thought, I'm starting to see a lot of the singles in the very front shedding very slowly. starting around week 2, but I haven't really noticed any further shedding in the last couple of weeks, and I still have about 60% of the grafts that are just, growing like nothing ever happened.
One question for you. How vigorous are you with washing your hair in the shower?
Not vigorous. I guess out of force of habit. Initially it was the baby shampoo. Just very gently tapping after. Got to wait 2 weeks before you could actually tap it with your fingers and very mildly massage it. But for the first 2 weeks, it was basically just pouring a mixture of baby shampoo and warm water on, and then rinsing it off, not even touching the grafts. And even now, 6 weeks, almost 7 weeks out, when I do wash my hair, I'm vigorous maybe on my existing hair, but on the recipient area, I'm still somewhat gentle in the massaging with the fingertips. I'm not like scrubbing away at all.
Right.
So I'm very.
So it's a common situation where patients will notice that their hair hasn't shed, even though in the standard timeline it should have. And the first thing I ask is the question that I asked you, because far too many patients are way too careful with their grafts after surgery. To the point at the point where they don't need to be anymore. The first couple weeks, absolutely, but you're almost 7 weeks. I've had patients tell me that they didn't have any hair shed, and they're in month 2, and come to find out they've just been really too delicate, too soft, with sometimes not even touching their hair. They'll just like continue to let water get on it and maybe drip some lather on it after they build it up on their hands, and then rinse it very lightly. They're really, really paranoid about damaging their grafts. Those suckers aren't going anywhere at this point. So my recommendation to you, and I'm not saying this is the entirety of your situation, but my recommendation to you is be just as vigorous on the recipient area as you are in the donor area or anywhere else in your scalp that you're washing. In other words, don't baby it at this point, because what happens is the follicle has separated from the blood supply, and the hair shaft is supposed to shed, but it's not being encouraged to with aggravation. It's just sitting in your scalp, potentially, just sitting there, not doing anything. So be more aggressive with it, and you can encourage some of that shedding, which is normal and is not detrimental at all for the long-term outcome.
At this point, I should still be okay. I shouldn't have to worry that I've damaged my or that I've hurt my chances for successful regrowth. If some of these, if some of these individual hairs are just sitting in there and are detached from the follicle.
I'm not a doctor, but yes.
Yes, what?
Yes or no. Sorry, no. You will not damage anything at this point. It's completely safe.
Okay.
You're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but that shit is part of your body. After 7 days. So if something is going on, even if for some reason they're not dislodged and they were supposed to be dislodged, or they were going through an effluvium and they're just still stuck in your scalp, your hair will continue to grow and push those hairs out. So there's no reason. I mean, you could be more vigorous if you want. I mean, you don't have to be super gentle. But I haven't even had a hair transplant, and I'm still using baby shampoo in the cup like I'm 5 years old. I'm just kidding. No, I wash my hair, but not vigorously. I still kind of have a little bit of a thing. For years I would actually hold my hand above the above my head so that the full pressure of the water didn't hit my head. Just out of habit.
Out of habit.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do that anymore now.
Interesting. Earlier you mentioned peptides, basically saying, hey, it's blood flow, stupid. And and I agree. I don't know what you think about collagen peptide powder, the kind you mix in oatmeal or whatever. I take that. I've been taking that for a while. I take it daily. With minoxidil oral, I'm only taking a quarter of a 2.5 tab. Which, if it's not enough, that's fine, because I don't want to I don't want to take so much that I get, bad side effects. But I also, I take finasteride, which I've been taking forever, and also a medical grade laser cap. I've been using that for the last few months. So, I'm trying to hit all the angles. I do realize that
there's no such thing as a medical grade laser cap.
Well, what I mean by that is what I meant by that.
That means that you bought it from a physician.
Basically, what I found is that there are a lot of cheap caps out there. You can get for $100 to $200. They're not actual lasers. They're actually just red light diodes. They're red light therapy.
True. Now that is the case. Now they're selling both red light therapy diodes and laser diodes.
Correct.
But all laser diodes, anything that has laser diodes currently that I'm aware of, as far as 510K clearance and the ability to sell these, are the exact same wavelength as essentially a cat
and power
toy.
output.
Yeah, and power output, essentially as a cat toy. So, medical grade, non-medical grade, everyone's marketing it the way that they say, whether it's whatever. There's some good products out there, and I think there's some... I've seen some anecdotal evidence that the data that's been presented at Global Hair Loss Summit by the people from Laser Cap, it all seems pretty, legit and significant now. But yeah, I only put that out there because if someone's just saying, well, this is a medical grade laser cap, in my view, that's a matter of semantics, and there's really there's no difference.
It's a marketing term.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a difference between red light and laser light, though, for sure.
Probably,
yes.
But I'm thinking that the reason it probably has some statistical merit is because that apparently it improves blood flow kind of the same way minoxidil does. I don't know if obviously the mechanism is different, but
it's supposed to work at the mitochondrial level. I mean, there's all kinds of information that's being put out there in the, in quotes, data. Again, I don't think if you could afford it and you're comfortable using it, I don't see anything wrong with it. And there are plenty of people who believe they're getting good results from it.
Right.
I'll say this about these things. No one actually knows why it works, when it works. No one's been able to break down exactly how it's working. These are just ideas that they have. Well, it might be working on the mitochondria. It's like, how do you know? They're like, well, you get some hemming and hawing, but they don't really know, and that's fine, as long as it doesn't fry your liver. That's what matters. But I made a video about this subject several years back. It's on my channel on the playlist of hair loss education or hair transplant education, and I talk about the history of laser devices and the common denominator that they all have in common, or that they all have. It is half a watt of power output, 550 to 650 nanometer wavelength, and they are identical to the same diodes that you'll see in a laser pointer that you can get from Staples for $5. It's the same thing.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. And legally, they can't be anything else because they all fall under the 510K clearance by the FDA, which is established in, it escapes me, I think 1974. In order to be classified as that, it can be no different than anything sold before 1974. So it's nothing new. The technology isn't new. And you got to understand how 510K clearance works. But that's the basics of how this stuff works.
You can go to the dollar store and you can buy how many diodes? 275 diodes, laser diodes, $1 a piece or whatever they're charging. Dollar store is actually more, now it's like $1.50.
Yeah.
Make your own device. Figure it out. I mean, you're gonna have to put the batteries in there and shit like that. But I mean, that's the reality. Now, if there's a physician or whoever's selling laser caps, they will disagree and they will show you all the data. The data does exist. But what people don't fully grasp about data and studies is, I got to be honest with you, getting a study published in the last 30 years, it's not that difficult. And if you're going, depending on the journal, If it's a journal where a lot of the peer reviewers are your buddies, that shit's going to go through. Most of these people know each other, but no one's fully aware of them.
Yeah, you got to look for the unbiased independent studies if you can find them.
You know what's funny? Now you're able to state that things are unbiased or they're independent because there's no conflict of interest, but it doesn't mean that so and so hasn't had drinks with the people who authored these studies, and it doesn't mean that they don't know them from the meetings. And it doesn't, you know what I mean? That's just the way it is.
Well, just tying everything together about everything I said before, I'm just wondering if all these things that I'm doing could have some impact on prolonging the anagen phase, and could be the reason why I haven't shed as quickly or as rapidly as I would have expected. Maybe because I'm doing all these things.
But there's also, you also have to understand, and I don't know if Joe indicated this, there are people out there who never shed a certain percentage of their grafts, and some of them are a lot.
I didn't get to that part, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So some people, and it could be you, no matter how vigorously you decide to wash your hair, may never go through that telogen, and the grafts just keep growing. It's an interesting phenomenon that does occur. You may be one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange. I haven't seen a single hair on my brush or in the sink or in the shower drain. Not a single hair. Nothing.
That's amazing. Well, you know what? Fingers crossed, you grow like a chia pet, and that's it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, brother. Congratulations on everything, and let us know how you do.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. We are live. It's a call-in show, 888-659-3727. We're here to answer your questions. And everyone out there who's selling a laser cap, please don't contact me after the show. Any doctors who are in the IHRS, I get it. I'm not saying you can't sell these things, and I'm not saying that they don't work. I'm just saying that the results are probably negligible compared to, everything is done and sold in combination in this field. So I don't know how many people are just doing super well just using some sort of a laser helmet or cap without a combination of medications, DHT blockers, hair transplant surgery, etc.
I've seen some really nice results from laser over the years since I made that original video. That it was actually inspiring.
Yeah.
Enough to, I saw some results that were inspiring enough to make that video. That's what pushed that. I forgot it was like 7 years ago, and but it's like anything else. It's like with PRP, it's never standardized. So, and because it's so inconsistent, it's difficult to say that PRP works. You have to throw in that caveat. It does for some people, just like laser works for some people, but it's not as consistent as you'll get with oral medications or some of the topicals out there that are out there now. So it's low on the rung of items to choose from when it comes to fighting hair loss, and it's like a fallback for when medications don't agree with the patient. Look to laser. Look to
and it's
PRPs
also a really
whatever.
nice upsell with big margins for for physicians. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got to make a living, and if there's a possibility for you to be helped by it, and this is how I see it, and you could afford it, then go for it. It's not a big deal. You guys are sitting scrolling on your fucking phones all day anyway, or watching Netflix. Put the hat on your head. Whatever.
I still think that people should go to cheaplasercaps.com and cheapchineselasercaps.com and get something for like a couple $100. Like spending thousands of dollars on a laser cap just doesn't make any sense to me.
If you have the money, whatever. You know what? That's what it is. I don't know. I could ask Brian Johnson what he's doing. Let's see who this is.
Doesn't he sell one?
He might be. He should actually. I should call him about that, because if he does, I'm in, brother. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Eddie from Houston.
Eddie from Houston, what's going on, man?
Yes. Hey, so I've called you guys in the past few times regarding FUE.
Sure.
I'm scheduled to do one with Dr. Wong in a few weeks.
Okay.
He had an opening. So what I'm doing is
What did I tell you?
what I'm going to do is get some grafts put into my scar area, and so I did a consult with him by virtual, and he said I only need approximately maybe 180 to 240 grafts, which I thought was kind of low. I thought it would be much higher than that, so I've already done 3 FUTs with him, so I'm doing another FUTs. Probably a little too risky, so just kind of put some grafts in the donor scar and refine the hairline and create some density on top. And I was just concerned because I spoke with you last week, Joe, regarding your issue when you had it done in the scar area, and I said you're an anomaly, and you're like, no, you're not. But even Dr. Wong said you are an anomaly, given what you've been through.
He says I'm an anomaly. Yeah, but I'm an anomaly because my
He's talking about his entire life,
area,
by the way.
Yeah, he's just talking about me as a person.
Yeah.
No, it's my donor area continues to heal, where I still have laxity, so I can still go in for more strip surgeries. That's the anomaly part. Because you understand, like my first surgery with him was my 3rd surgery overall, and I had 2 scars that were stacked on top of each other. And that first surgery took out both scars, still got 2,400 grafts, which was a big surgery 21 years ago. Like 2,400 grafts was a big surgery for virgin scalp 21 years ago. And it still closed up, still made a nice scar, and I wound up having 6 more FUT surgeries after that.
Yeah, I think he said
6
you're
more?
like the Wolverine. I think that's what he said.
Yeah. Well, I feel fortunate in that regard, but yeah, that's where the anomaly part comes in.
Is your camera on a dolly? What is going on?
Thanks for noticing. Yes, it is.
That's very cool.
Going for a new look here, guys.
No shit. Except you're not moving. The camera is.
Exactly. It adds a bit of depth and almost like visual compassion.
But shouldn't your shot
seriousness?
Shouldn't your shot be moving as well with the camera? If you're moving the camera,
it's called I forgot what it's called, but it keeps the same center. It moves like this.
Yeah.
So it's still pointed at one spot, but it's while it's moving, it rotates.
Yeah, but your
parallax,
background's not moving, and you're not moving. Your microphone's not moving. The only thing that's really moving.
Yeah, it is. Microphone's moving.
Is it?
Everything's moving. Yeah, you just got to watch it.
I am watching it.
It draws you in. It's more engaging. It looks good. I like your intro, by the way. That was a very cool intro with a countdown.
Well, that's all him. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. I changed that. Yeah. That's a new option.
Did I run my intro today? I don't think so. I think I just went on the air.
Where'd you get that?
No, you did.
Is that freeware or you have to pay for it? Where'd you get that from?
No, that's part of YouTube. That's an option when you have a live stream.
Oh, it's from YouTube. I didn't know that.
For the countdown, yeah. Like you can change it to from 1 minute to 2 minutes. I think you can maybe even do a 3-minute intro, and then they got options for you for your countdown, and I chose that one. So I just changed it the other day. Thanks for noticing. Yeah.
Well, when I go on Rumble, I'm getting a signer to do my countdown. So
anyway,
no, I was actually I like the who'd you have, that doctor from Switzerland? It was perfect timing, guys. Watching that, it was relevant to what I'm dealing with. And so I was
yeah, exactly.
I was looking at Dr. Wong. I think uses a wah punch, wah utility, right?
Yeah.
So
he uses the punch, but he changes he doesn't always use the wah handle. He'll also use the Trivellini system and just use the wah trumpet punch attached to that because it's a universal fitment, which is nice.
But is he the one who's actually doing the punch outs, or is it Winnie or Raluca? I don't remember.
It changes, but Raluca, there's Winnie, and sometimes Dr. Wong. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, given my situation, I have a very finite amount of hair left, and I just hope I'm in the right hands here. I'm just really nervous about this procedure, and I'm assuming that whoever does is going to be highly qualified.
Well, I think. I was going to say I don't even know these people. I was going to say I think they stopped drinking, but no, dude, I'm sure. I mean, the one thing about Dr. Wong is he wants, and besides, always wants to know how much money I make. The one thing about Dr. Wong is that he always wants to maintain his reputation, and he only has really great people working with him. But you're right. I mean, in his clinic, there are technicians who are, or I don't know if they're RNs at this point. I think they're eventually going to have to be. But they're extracting grafts, or they're dissecting grafts, not just extracting.
Yeah, it's always been. It's always. Just understand this. I'll say this: the clinic itself, along with so many other "quote unquote" top name clinics from over the past 20 years, have actually been technician clinics.
They're all technician clinics.
It just wasn't classified as such because it was before FUE came about, and it was before the ISHRS was trying to find a way to curtail the growth of FUE by going after clinics where it was technicians in different countries. I'm being a bit vague here. Doing extractions.
Well, they're only focusing on different countries because it was easier for them, in my view, to kind of demonize and black market a different country.
Yeah, because if they demonized it in their country, then 90% of their membership would be demonized. So
everyone who took the pledge, almost. Let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works in all of these top clinics that have been around for a while is, when it was FUT, the doctor would take out the strip and hand it off to the technicians, and the technicians were the ones that were in charge of dissecting this tissue, these organs, separating them into their, based on groupings, sometimes creating groupings, going from doubles and triples down to singles, using microscopes. It's a very, very high skill set to be able to do that consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do it well consistently.
What Joe's trying to say is that technicians basically ran the game. This entire industry is built on the labor and the sweat of these technicians, and no one wants to talk about that. That's the reality. So
actually, when I called certain clinics this past week, I was surprised to find out. They were kind of surprised in my question because I was really asking some specific questions as to who's actually doing what part of the procedure.
They're like, please hold. Actually, and then you just hear the music for an hour and a half.
Or I'm not really sure. I think it's a doctor.
Yeah.
But no, I finally even got my answers. But I was surprised how many doctors, if it's FUT, some doctors will do the extraction. If it's FUE, sometimes they don't even deal with it at all, or vice versa. So you got to really ask and be specific here. It's. Sometimes I wish they would make it more transparent as actually who the technicians are, because, at least have their bio on the website and their background, just create some transparency, so we know it's like somebody's there full time and not somebody's there rotating or jumping from.
I agree too. And there was a point where I was really trying to make that happen in the IHRS. And the reason that that's not happening is, and this is the reason every doctor gave me, was that they didn't want their technicians poached. And that is the nature of this game. It is a fucked up industry. Everyone pats themselves in the back and says hi, and they go drinking at the meeting, but they're speaking to other people's technicians behind the scenes who are at these meetings to try to poach them.
Yeah. And that's actually a legitimate concern. Like it is something that happens where, hell, I was poached. one of these meetings. That's why I left Hasselwang to begin with in August 2014 is because I got poached the year before, and it happens. I get it.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to know the experience of who you're dealing with, and I can tell you, like the team for Dr. Wong, like Raluca, Winnie, they've all been there at least 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're very good at what they do, for sure. And this is something that everyone needs to understand, is that when you're looking at a clinic and there is technician work going on, you're not paying for a doctor to do the work, or you're not paying for a technician to do the work. You're paying for a team to do the work. That's across the board. And there comes a point where, while it does make sense, and I do encourage people to ask questions, there comes a point where you have to understand that you are paying for a team, and if they have the reputation that's pulled you in, if their reputation has maintained itself while you've been doing your research, you've already had surgery with them before, you're obviously happy with your relationship that you've got with them at this point. It comes a point you have to trust the process a bit.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of faith that you have to have. I'm going to get some shit for this one, but there is a point where you have to just understand that you have to have some faith that you have made the right decision. That you may not get the full bio of who's working on you, but you have to understand that you'll get some information if you ask for it. But you have to understand that there is a level of trust that the doctor has in these people, like Spencer said, to maintain his or her reputation.
Just try to avoid doctors.
It's all a team effort.
Just try to avoid doctors who are willing to hire people with criminal records. And I'm not joking.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, it's a calculated faith. So I've done the research, and and I've seen what you've gone through. So I know he's definitely skillful. It just, it's good to know. It just keeps me at peace. But I don't need to overexamine it, so overanalyze it. So I am moving forward. I'm trusting in the doctor and the facility. And just back to what you said, how many FUEs did you get into the scar? Did you have to do 300?
No, I had, it was only into my occipital donor scar, the very back, and it was 100 grafts. So it wasn't the entire scar. Yeah, it's just 100 grafts.
Okay, so 180 to 240 for me is probably maybe reasonable. Just for the occipital area.
Oh, that's, absolutely. It should be.
Okay.
I mean, just generally speaking, if it's just the occipital region, then that's plenty.
Yeah. So, and if anything, I was told sometimes you might have to come back and do another one as a touch-up if necessary.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, when you're putting hair into scar tissue, wherever the scar tissue is, you have a higher probability of, you'll have a lower survival rate, comparatively speaking, when placing into healthy skin tissue. That's just a fact.
Lower yield.
And then if you compound that by adding non-scalp hair as donor, like using beard grafts or chest hair grafts, and that is in order of growth rates. Beard has a higher growth rate than chest hair, generally speaking. Then that also adds to that also reduces the survival rate of the graft. So if you have, let's just do a round number, 100 grafts placed into the donor scar of scalp hair, you may have, I don't want to guesstimate the percentages of survival, but you will have a lower survival rate usually than you would if it was placed into healthy skin tissue. So it may be enough to where it does take care of the issue. It might not be, and that's also Dr. Wong hedging his bets. You'll probably be okay with that number, assuming the survival is pretty good. But just understand that No one can tell if you'd actually be happy with the result. That's why no one should give a guarantee of happiness for the outcome. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, he recommended to do around 20. That just from the virtual. He said I could do about 2,500 grafts, and I told him I probably want to keep it like at around 1,500, give or take, because I don't want to be too. I want to have some supply for the future just in case. And and I said we'll assess it when I get there and we can look into it, but I don't want to be aggressive. I'd rather have some left over in the bank in case I need it in the future.
Remind me what the where the placement is and what you're addressing with this next surgery.
So soften the hairline, and then fill in like the zone 1 and zone 2. Create a little bit more density, especially in zone 2, and then just refine the hairline, especially the temporal area. And just that's pretty much the main thing I'm looking at. And of course, fill in the strip.
Well, just understand that when so let's just break this down on the numbers here. So sorry, my dog just hopped up. My feeling on this, and I don't know your case, but he recommended 2,500 grafts. You're saying I'd prefer 1,500 grafts. You do understand that the game plan for the areas that can be addressed and how wide of an area can be addressed drastically changes with regards to the outcome.
Yeah. And I think that's why we're going to probably end up with 2,000. We're going to be like somewhere in the middle. So I hear what you're saying. So that's why I'm going to, when I visit him, I'll see what he recommends. And once he gets in there, he'll see for himself what he thinks, what he finds, 1, 2s, and 3s.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure you're not holding steady with that number, because I've seen so many times patients come in and dictate to the doctor how many grafts they want, and then the doctor concedes that new goal, and then the final outcome comes out a year later. Perfect growth, but not enough density / coverage, because the patient didn't factor in, my outcome won't be the same with half the grafts. It just didn't compute somehow. So please keep that in mind. Yeah, and not to mention, if up to 240 grafts are going to be used for just scar tissue, that takes away from what's also going to be placed on the top. Another great example of misunderstanding the numbers is when, and I see this all the time, a patient will say, I had, we'll say 3,500 grafts, and I'm a Norwood 4, shouldn't I have more density? And people chime in and say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is you should. It's a failed transplant. The growth is probably 60%." But what they fail to understand, and what the patient failed to disclose, is that he had another 750 grafts on either side of his temples to bring the temple points all the way forward to balance out the new hairline and the coverage, and that effectively reduces what he should expect for density.
Got
it. It's a supply versus demand issue that you always have to keep in mind when you change those numbers. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Did you do exosome or PRP, or have you done that?
I've done PRP one time, and that was when I was visiting Dr. Cooley's office 8 years ago, and he told me up front. He said, "You're probably not going to see much out of this because everything on top of your head's transplanted." I said, "Well, instead of doing the areas that have been transplanted, let's do the demarcation between transplant and native hair on the side in my part line, and let's see if that will thicken up a little bit." And he said, "That's actually a good idea. Let's try it." And it did. It did thicken the part line back towards the crown where it was mainly focused. And it lasted for a few years. I think it's thinned out since then, but it's still I
just
I've
don't
had
have it in your
experience with it. I
penis,
liked
brother.
it.
That's a big thing here in LA. A lot of PRP in the penises.
You mean again?
PRP and penis? Would you say penis?
Penis, yes. All right, brother. Good luck. Don't stress over the team effort, man. That's just the nature of the game.
That's why I call you guys, so you can kind of ease, kind of talk me through all this, get it out of my system. But Dr. Wong is going to use exosome, and that's what he recommended. No PRP.
All right.
Interesting.
How much are you charging for that?
That's good. It's good to know.
Just $300 or $400.
Okay, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
basically his cost. That's basically his cost, so that's good.
Yeah, he says that he's seen a good result with that. He didn't say anything about doing PRP, but.
Well, that's good. I mean, he's not making a big markup on it. I was just curious. I mean, basically he thinks it's important. He's essentially charging you his cost, and that's good.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right,
okay,
brother.
Guys. All right. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Now, I don't know if it's the real Ken Anderson in the room because we did have a fake Ken Anderson in the room for a long time. So I'm going to let's ask a very specific question that only Ken Anderson can answer. Dr. Anderson, when you were in Los Angeles the last time, you leased a car to drive somewhere. What kind of car did you lease? And where did you drive?
That's a good question.
Let's see what he answers.
There's a delay of about 10 seconds. So
Phone number is 888-659-3727.
C8 Corvette Malibu.
All right. This is the real Ken Anderson. I had to check, man. Last time some guy, I think I may have told you, came in, posing as you, started to talk about how he dug black women. Nothing wrong with that, but it was like a weird conversation. I'm just going to tell you.
We also had a fake McGrath at one point.
Oh, was it a fake McGrath? It was McGrath. Oh,
Yes.
I thought it was a fake Anderson. That's right. I contacted him. It was a fake McGrath. Anyway, but we're going to have Dr. Anderson. We're going to have to do that from now on because there are people out there who not only are willing to pose as physicians and answer people's questions in our chat, but then they'll troll Joe.
I think they should also. Yeah. I think texting us beforehand or while they're in the chat room just to confirm that it is them would be another way to do it.
That's true. Yeah. All right, guys. Phone number 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show, The Bald Truth, the original and longest running show on this really depressing subject. The fact that I even thought about doing a radio program about hair loss, I think it really does. It highlights just how much this affected my life as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a good idea too. And I got to tell you, brothers, 11 years on the radio, that was some of the best. That was a great situation for me. That's all I'm going to say. It all worked out. And now I can do the show for free on Joe's channel and just enjoy it. I know people think I'm crazy. Why don't we get sponsored? You know what? I'm done with all that stuff. We'll see what happens in the future. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. This is Connor from Oklahoma.
Hey, Connor. What's happening, brother?
Connor, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's been about a month. You guys doing okay?
Yeah, I mean, I have a little tweak in my
Can't
back,
complain.
but otherwise I'm great, man.
Good.
What's up?
Yeah, so, sorry, I didn't mean to say the tweak in your back was good.
No, I was just,
I hope you're okay.
don't. Knock on wood. I'm great.
Just blame the post-Masteride syndrome for the tweak in the back.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. That's what I told her.
Hey,
Go ahead.
So I have a quick question in regards to treatment and like the effectiveness of treatment and downstream the effectiveness of a hair transplant. And I see like a lot of mixed research about this online, but I was wondering what your guys' opinion would be in terms of like the various methods of nicotine consumption on the result of treatment or a hair transplant.
Now, are you just saying specific nicotine consumption or smoking cigarettes?
Vapes, chewing tobacco, smoking cigarettes. I know they probably have different effects, but primarily just about like nicotine.
It's a good question. And we do have a doctor in the room, but I mean, in general, nicotine itself could actually cause some issues, I think, with any type of surgery. But there are plenty of people who, they'll stop smoking and then go on nicotine patches to avoid, any of the more major complications that can happen when you're trying to heal and smoke, blood vessel issues, all that stuff. Vaping in general is really, I can't even believe people are dumb enough, and I'm sorry to say this, to vape. And I'm not even going to say it's probably, I'm not a doctor, it's probably not a great idea to say it's better to smoke cigarettes, but you're essentially ingesting oil into your lungs that you can't metabolize. No one knows what the fuck that is. You know? So I have no idea how that's going to affect your hair. But nicotine's not a great idea, and neither is obviously smoking. But if you have to do one, it's better to stop smoking, stop vaping, and if you need to have some sort of nicotine gum or patch, you're probably better off. And it's unlikely to affect the healing process. I don't know what Dr. Anderson says in the room.
Well, I'll tell you, based on my experience, basically every clinic will recommend during the post period that you not smoke, that you try to quit, that you try to avoid smoking, avoiding nicotine, vaping, all this, just because they want to cover their ass, which makes sense. It makes sense. And, of course, it's better for you if you stop to begin with. So are you working on your car?
No, I'm sorry. I'm actually taking my dutasteride. Well, I didn't think you could hear me. I'm sorry.
So it sounded like I was waiting to hear some power tools in the background. But in all seriousness, like in my entire career, I can't say I've seen any cases except maybe one where smoking did actually affect the outcome. And when I say one, it was a case where a patient developed necrosis. He was a very heavy smoker, but he also had like 6,000 grafts, and there was some dense packing going on. And I can't help but think that maybe it was the history of smoking as opposed to the act of smoking during recovery that lent itself more to the issue. Meaning, his skin was affected by it. He had some long-term circulatory issues as far as not blood vessels and arteries, but more like capillaries, the smallest of the blood vessels in your scalp. I think that might have been affected long-term before he even had surgery. He wasn't 20 years old when he had the surgery. He's probably, if I recall, he was early 40s. So, and when I say heavy smoker, I mean like a couple packs a day, always smoking. But aside from that, I can't say I've seen any case of failure attributed to that. And I used to deal with a lot of Italians, and they would almost always smoke.
How dare you?
Heavily.
But there are studies out there that will actually show like nicotine may actually accelerate healing in like diabetic mice. You're going to read all this stuff, So, and then there are people going to say, well, they claim that nicotine can actually accelerate certain healing properties. But you also know that it narrows blood vessels. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know if I could stay away. If I were you, I would stay away from it all.
Yeah.
And, why take a chance?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds anti-minoxidil.
Yeah.
Kind of,
I mean, to me, it's like, why take a chance? And listen, I'm a guy, I love to smoke. I don't smoke. I quit smoking when I was like 24 years old. I mean, if I get really loaded, instead of smoking a cigar, I'll see someone who has a cigarette, but that's rare, So I get it, but I just know that it's just from a young person I knew is like, look, I don't want to die from this shit. And I don't want this in my body, so I don't do it. But I understand it psychologically because once you start, I was like in my 20s. I was actually younger when I started. But once you do it for a little while, it's part of you, even if you quit for 40 years.
Yeah, I agree. I grew up in Germany. I started in maybe the 6th grade.
Yeah.
Over there, I mean, it's easier to get cigarettes. There's no there's no ways of them like stopping you from getting your hands on it. There's like vending machines where you just put a quarter in. And
Dude, I grew up in
New
New York in the 1970s. I was able to go to the liquor store for my parents and buy them packs of cigarettes, a carton of cigarettes, and a bottle of Jack Daniels, and be like, put it on my parents' tab. I was a kid, like 8 years old.
My parents' tab.
You know,
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's the way it was.
They would ask me how my father
way it
was. You know, shit like that.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
to me, if you're going to have any type of surgery, I would just stay away from all of that. That's just my view. I really don't know if it's going to actually have a significant impact on the outcome of your surgery, but I wouldn't take a chance if it were me.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why I ask is my own personal experience. I've maintained pretty good for 5 years or so on finasteride, minoxidil, and dutasteride 1 day a week. And man, I picked up a soccer injury, and I had to get surgery for it, and I've kind of just been sitting down, like not doing much because I can't. And I started like vaping and using those Zyn nicotine pouches, and then
they really got you with those,
reason,
man. Everyone's selling Zyns.
Yeah.
Rogan's using Zyns, I think.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for some reason, ever since like I've started using nicotine a couple months ago, I have just been shedding like a dog. So
really
trying to figure out the reason. Yeah, I mean, and it's like density has taken a huge hit.
Well, you just said it. You're trying to figure out the reason. Ever since I started taking nicotine a few months ago, I'm shedding like a dog, and I'm trying to figure out the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said it.
You may have just said it. You may have figured it out.
Yeah, because I mean, I've shed before in the past. Kind of having like a synchronized growth cycle due to hair loss medication. But for some reason, man, it's been, and I'm sure we're discussing the reason, which would be nicotine, but it's just been like crazy shedding. Like I've never had this bad of shedding since I got on treatment.
Really?
So, and I'm 5 days off of it now. Like I've stopped completely.
Good. I mean, there obviously seems to be, I mean, it would be a very interesting coincidence if it was a coincidence. You know what I mean? It seems like he started to do nicotine on a heavy basis, and then he started to go through an effluvium. So that's. I'm glad that you stopped.
Mm-hmm. And something crazy. I mean, I'm an athlete, and I always have like very good blood pressure. 120/70.
Yeah.
And the last time I went to the doctor for regards to my surgery, I'm pretty sure for no other reason due to nicotine, I was like 150/100 or like 150/90. Yeah, and I've never had an issue with blood pressure my entire life.
How old are you?
So I'm 27.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds like there's some causal effect there for sure. Now, I have what's known as white coat high blood pressure. I think there's some sort of weird low-level anxiety that I may have been inherited because my dad was in the war. I don't know what it is. Or I just don't like doctors. But, I have to monitor my blood pressure in the house before I go to the doctor. I'm like, look, this is my blood pressure for last month. It's going to be like 140/90, when I have it taken here. And that's always the case. So,
yeah, it is quite the spike.
Yeah, so you should, I think monitoring your blood pressure at home is a good thing as well, especially if it was high, even temporarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think it's nicotine. I don't have a crystal ball, but just from the way you're explaining things, it does seem like nicotine, no bueno for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's okay. At least I kind of have a direction to go now, but I appreciate you guys answering my question. I'm sorry it was a little bit off topic.
Yeah. No, it's okay. And maybe you should just start drinking. I'm kidding. Don't do that either. You're about to have surgery.
No, I've already had the surgery.
Oh, you had the surgery?
I'm in recovery right now.
All right, don't drink.
Yeah, I had shin splints that were so bad that, like, I guess pressure formed in my leg, something like that. They had to remove the pressure. I think it's called compartment syndrome, but yeah.
Wow. Well, listen, brother, good luck. let us know. Contact us. Let us know how you do with the being off the nicotine after a couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for your time.
Okay, you got it, brother. Good luck.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right,
Take
thanks.
care. Phone number is 888-659-3727, 888-659-3727. We do have lines open if anybody wants to call in. Yeah, that white coat high blood pressure is a thing. I just remember this one doctor's like through the roof, and they're like, this is not good. Your blood pressure is high.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it happens every time I go to the doctor. I don't know what it is.
It's because you're at the doctor's. Stressed out.
It's funny. I was never stressed at doctors as a younger person. The only time I started to get stressed at doctors, no offense, Dr. Anderson, I started to get stressed going to the doctors after I was in this field for a while. And I saw what really happens and how some doctors really acted.
Yeah.
I've lost so much trust in the medical profession because of I know too much, and I see what goes on behind the scenes, at least in our industry, and then in some other areas of cosmetic surgery as well. And it's like, first do no harm is like been replaced with show me the money. And then you start to see what's going on, like board certified dermatologists going on TikTok. And then, you get penis doctors on TikTok. This one guy talks about like injecting, I talked about this last week, I think, fillers into people's penises. This is a urologist. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't want anybody touching me.
See, I don't see that kind of stuff. Like, I understand why that would bother you, but I've worked in hospitals before, and because I know people still working in hospitals today, and reading about all the changes coming that have already been implemented in healthcare, I have a challenge with going to the doctor and believing everything they're telling me because of how I know that those environments are running. Not because of the like hair transplant surgery and stuff like that. That's a different animal. I'm talking about the overall system, and I'm not going to get too political on this, but like locally here in BC, there was a mandate for nurses to not get in the way of people using drugs in the hospital. And when I say using drugs, I'm not talking prescription drugs.
Sweet Jesus.
Like it is, like these are the reasons why I have a hard time with healthcare. I'm again not talking about hair transplant surgery, general healthcare. Going to the doctor. In fact, I started going to the doctor again for a series of events, and I was shocked. Not so much shocked, but disappointed and surprised that I can't just call up to make an appointment anymore to come see my doctor. It's all prefaced with a video conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless it's for gender affirming care. What?
Well, of course. What? So you got straight in. So, but
I think I would.
It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre how medicine has evolved over the years to where you can't just go in and see your doctor with a regular appointment. And even I did wind up going to go see him for a second appointment, which was actually my first, being in person, and it was very different. It was more of a series of questions, and he's checking off boxes to come up with a diagnosis, as opposed to talking to me and letting me explain what issues there may be. It's backward as far as I'm concerned.
Normally the way I get attention, and make him lift his head out of his computer, I just pull down my pants right there. I'm just like, can you please look at this? And that was it.
Mr. Kobren, it says you're here for a nose issue. Why are you taking off your pants?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
I don't think your sinuses go down there, sir.
It's a pretty scary world. And listen, there are good doctors out there for sure, everywhere. But I think it's more difficult for physicians to practice medicine the way that they would like to practice it. I also don't think that medical students are made fully aware of the reality of what it is to be a doctor in today's environment once they decide to go into medicine.
Right.
You know, and they realize they have to make certain concessions, and they realize that they're not really able to treat patients the way they'd like to treat patients. And, you know, every doctor here in California now, my internist, it's you have to do like a concierge situation, otherwise you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two different concierge. I have like one that I pay literally. I'm not gonna, a lot of money every year just so I can go in at any time. I don't have to go to emergency room or an urgent care. Essentially, you know, if you need X-rays, if you need MRI, they have all the equipment there. You don't have to wait for to go to the fucking hospital and be wheeled in by, you know, people. It's cost a lot of money. It's for it's for the rich people. So you essentially, if you want good medical care, you got to work hard and make money in this world.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're
screwed.
You got to
work hard to afford getting fixed when you fall apart. That's what it comes down to.
But you know what I find interesting about that? We live in a world where we almost like, oh my God, we can't believe it's going to cost us this money to take care of our health. But no one's, you know, people, they have no concern about buying an AMG or a Ferrari if they could afford it. But they're pissed if they have to go out of pocket for something when it comes to their health.
Yeah.
Priorities are pretty fucked up.
I have no problem doing that. Like, I'm happy to pay out of pocket if it gets me seen faster, if it gets a scan done faster, and it's just a different world. I've been doing a lot of thinking about that over the past 6 weeks. It's a different world. The way things are working in medicine in general, and not for the better.
Dude, I was just asked by some friends, this old man talk about, you know, do I have like long-term care insurance? I'm like, yeah, it's called a Smith & Wesson. That's my long-term care insurance. You know?
It's called GPS to a high bridge over a dried riverbed.
Yeah, that's another total ripoff, you know, to go into one of those systems, man. They say, you know, what you do, you set money aside. You know, a Vanguard index fund. Years prior, and you're like, you know what? This is what's going to happen if I need to be put in a home. This is what I'm going to use if I need this. People don't do that. People make money, they spend it. All of a sudden, they got a new boat. How often do you enjoy that boat? To me, if it flies, floats, or fucks, you rent it.
You heard it here first, people.
Guys, 888-659-3727 is toll-free number. It is the Hair Loss Show. We're just having a little fun vamping here. But if we don't get any calls, I'm going to call it a night because I have a dinner to go to.
You mean more calls? We've had some calls. We don't want to let people think that we've been sitting here vamping because of no calls.
Oh yes, we had a full board a second ago when we took our last caller, but people hung up. So we have lines open, people. 888-659-3727. And for everyone who has been following me on Instagram, I haven't gone live this week because I was busy doing shit, getting stuff done.
Getting ish done.
Yeah.
Bitches.
And yes, while the studio is in my home, and while it's not that difficult to turn on the camera and turn on the lights and, you know, put in the stream codes and all that stuff to go live, for whatever reason, when I go on Instagram, the calls are off the hook. And you don't see anybody doing a 2-hour Instagram live except for this dope.
Well, the calls are off the hook, then why not? And yes, Ectomorph, call in. We'll let you talk for 2 minutes. Well, it depends on what you want to talk about, but call us. Let us know what you want to talk about.
And it depends who Ectomorph is.
Yeah. In the meantime, I just realized I still haven't gotten to the subject of the show, which is what do people do if their surgery doesn't turn out well? And it's kind of a dynamic question, because as I was pushing out the episode, I was changing the title from one platform to the next, talking about this, and it was inspired by seeing people online complaining to anonymous people and getting input, and then admitting that they haven't contacted their clinic with their concerns.
Yeah.
Now, I understand why people go online and say, hey, I just had surgery 2 weeks ago. What do you guys do or like, how soon do you guys start lifting weights? Like general questions like that, which I always respond with, ask your clinic, because they know your case. We don't. And I think that's the only answer it should be given. But I'm just curious, and people watching this after the live stream, watching this for the replay, and those of you that are watching now, if you're going to answer this question, don't do it in the chat, do it down in the comments section for me, because that helps to keep the video active. But my question is, why would you, after having surgery, go onto a social media platform and ask anonymous non-professionals their opinion before you contact the clinic that actually did the work? Can someone out there explain that to me? Why would you as a patient do it, or why do you think other patients do it? Like, I have my own ideas, but I'd like to hear from viewers what they think. And this is really, really common. If Dr. Anderson's still watching, I know that he's seen this.
He left. He said good night, fellas.
Yeah, he said good night, fellas.
Good night, Doc.
I know that you've seen this on Bald Truth Talk. But this has been going on for forever, ever since there's been online platforms.
I can't even believe people
forums,
are still posting on Bald Truth
message
Talk.
boards. Yeah. But I think that's I don't know. It's a very interesting subject to me, because while I have my own ideas, I do understand to a degree.
There's a tribal mentality. There is it's fascinating, really. There's a relatively unique power dynamic that develops on these platforms, and people kind of they go into they want help. And they sense this power dynamic, and for some reason, they're led to believe. And it's not necessarily because they're stupid. It's some sort of, I can't even explain it. It's like tribal. They're trying to get help from the leader, and they're also trying to just put it out there for those who are nearing the top of the pyramid. And what does that mean? Top of the pyramid on these platforms are those who take the time to make the most noise or write or respond to the most posts. That's it.
That's exactly right.
They become the experts because they are responding the most. And it could be, literally, it could be a 16-year-old kid who's fucking with you guys.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It is a really weird phenomenon. And at the very least, if for some reason you felt uncomfortable going back to your own doctor, which you shouldn't, why not contact another doctor if something went wrong? Why not say, you know what, I'm really curious. I want to get a professional assessment of this situation. I don't want to tell you who my doctor was, but if you can let me know what's going on here, even before I go back to my doctor, so that I have I can gauge it, and maybe it's partially my unrealistic expectations or my imagination or my OCD. What are your thoughts, Doc? And especially if the doctor doesn't know who the other doctor is and you're just paying for an assessment, that could be incredibly beneficial as to why maybe things went wrong. And there are going to be doctors who be like, everything looks pretty good. I don't know why. Maybe, there's some physiology issue, or maybe there's something going on with the text, but the donor extraction looks really good. The pattern of extraction looks really good. And in a case like that, it may even give you a little bit more confidence in knowing that, well, at least I'm not totally botched.
I think that's the best value you can get from getting a second opinion is if they can tell you that you've not been botched.
Yeah.
It's a strange term, by the way. But yeah, I think that's probably the best thing that you can get from getting a second opinion from another doctor is validation that you're not botched. That's the best thing and the biggest thing that you should expect from that kind of visit. But on call 21 in the chat says, in his opinion, because they want pure validation because they had surgery from a clinic with no communication, or they put more credibility in the numbers, and those are valid points. But I was talking about not contacting the clinic first. Now, if they try to contact the clinic and the communication sucks, then that absolutely makes sense. It's like, well, where else are you going to go? Like if the clinic that did the work isn't responding to you or isn't responding appropriately in a way that answers your questions, then absolutely, where else are you going to go after that? You are going to go to a forum. You are going to go to Reddit. You are going to contact people outside the clinic. But I'm talking about not even contacting the clinic first and going out into the ether and relying on anonymous persons that don't even work in clinics or have never worked in clinics.
Again, and you know the answer, but it's interesting to see why. It would be interesting to see what patients say. It is just weird phenomenon that's developed over the years, and this is nothing new. It was happening 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's just at scale now. Now, so what happened to Connor? He called in earlier, right? Did we drop this call?
Yeah. No. We finished.
Oh, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, if you want to call in again, Connor, sure.
I'm not sure what he was saying about let me talk. Oh, I think he was. Oh, never mind. I get it. He was. He was satirizing. No, mocking. We'll just say he was mocking someone else that used to call in that he wants to hear call. He was saying, "Let me talk for 2 minutes when I call in," as a demand.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. the joke.
Yes. Now we get it.
Yeah.
Now we get it, Connor. Yeah, that call ended fine.
So you feel like calling in tonight?
Sure. That's
All
fine.
right, guys.
No calls? That's fine.
No calls. We go. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. What happened to my feed here? And I will probably go live. The farm is great, FSK, by the way. The farm is fucking great. I'll probably go live maybe over the weekend on @Spencer Kobren on Instagram. I had a real growth spurt for a while, which has slowed down considerably. So maybe I shouldn't do the lives. I don't know.
Well, when did the slowdown begin? When you started the lives? Or
No. I started to do lives, and I'm like, what's going on here, man? I'm exploding. All of a sudden, I got almost 20,000 followers, and now it's like gain 100, lose 20. Gain 200, lose 50.
Yep. That's the way it works.
It's a fucked up system.
It's the algorithm, yo.
I'm just wondering, like, if maybe a good video is something that can catch somebody's eye. Do like 15 seconds of like, I'll just like take like a fan for the comb over, and people could do the paint.
That would do it.
You know, or I could do like a real like a great before and after, like before.
Yeah.
And then 30 seconds after. And say,
like I did with the showing the power of flash photography, before, after, 30 secones.
Yeah.
And be able to present it as 2,000 graphs 1 year later.
It's amazing.
All because of flash. Yes.
So you see these pictures, these companies that are selling products, a lot of products for women, by the way. And they part the hair one way, And then they kind of push it together, apart it slightly different. And yeah, it's an untouched picture. It's not retouched.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different part line, idiots. I mean, how can you fools not fucking see that?
It's so easy to fool people. It really is. And that's part of the reason why this industry has grown so much. You can feel like I was helping this guy on Facebook on this Facebook group that I'm in once or twice a week, and he posts his hairline, or actually it's before and after, and it's like incredible before and after as far as the amount of hair. But the poor guy, he posts these photos, and the result looks like something out of 1994, but with better density.
Right.
I didn't say anything. There's some people just ripping it, and and the guy comes out and he says, you seem like you have some anger issues, and it's only because like the guy made a legitimate comment about how bad it looks. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't using a bunch of metaphors that didn't belong. It was just saying, yeah, it's pluggy, it's this, it's that, and that was it. So obviously his feelings were hurt, his pride was hurt, which I understand. But if you aren't prepared for the negative answers, don't ask the question. That's why I look at it.
That's why you don't want to go on hot or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Again, so it's like when someone comes to me and says, "Can you tell me what you think of my result?" Without even making a judgment, like maybe even without even seeing the actual result, I ask them, "Are you sure you want me to answer this? Are you sure you want my opinion? Because it might not be good." And I've had some people say, "You know what? Maybe not. You're right. Thanks for presenting that first, because I might not be happy with what you tell me." And it'll scar the appearance or the impression I have of my own result, and that's fine. Don't ask me if you don't want the truth. But this guy, I actually said, maybe you can solve this debate by taking better photos, because it was light source behind him, so light was going into the lens of the camera, washing things out, and creating a shadow over his hairline. I said, take a better picture, like maybe go outside.
He told you to go
So he
fuck
presented
yourself.
another. He said, well, how about this? Same room. He changed the lighting by adding a flash. No.
Yeah.
So I took a photo myself in my washroom using my phone, making sure I wiped off the lens, which is a big one.
Yeah.
And it's like, how fucking hard can it be? I don't understand this. How hard is, like, everyone walking around today that has a phone that's more than or less than 2 years old, or even 5 years old for that matter, has a professional level camera.
Right.
That's so easy. All you got to do is just press one button. That's it. And yet people still take photos that look like they came from a Motorola flip phone. I don't understand.
And you can find a lot of those on hair transplant surgeons' websites.
Exactly. Exactly. So, anyway.
It's really nice that you're still helping people online. I'm out of that business.
It's tough.
No good deed goes unpunished. I've learned that a million times.
True.
So this is the way that I look at it, people. If you want help, you call the show. If you want to get the truth, you tune into a live broadcast. You follow me on Instagram, follow Joe on Instagram. You have all the information you want. If you spend 5 minutes scrolling my Instagram, you're not going to write me and tell me this isn't helpful. Why don't you name some doctors that are good? Less than 5 minutes. If you actually just 3 or 4 scrolls with your thumb, you'll find all that information. Everyone is so fucking lazy. I don't know if you know Morgan Housel, I don't know if you that's how you pronounce his name, but he wrote a few books, and one book is The Psychology of Money. He's younger. He's about 20 years younger than me, but he has a very similar psychology of money as I have my entire life. And his is basically is very simple. You can kind of wrap it up into a couple of things. You spend less than you make, and you invest on a monthly basis, essentially. You invest your money in whatever, whether it's an index fund, something connected to the S&P 500. Statistically, based over the last 100 some odd years, you will always win if you just do that. You set it and forget it, same amount every month. The more money you can save, great. If you could, you make more income and you can say, put $100 a month away, or $200 or $500 or $1,000. The magic of compounding interest happens after about 20 years. That's the real magic. Like all of a sudden, it's like it goes insane. Hold on. You called 3 times? Call in. Hold on. Is something wrong with the phones?
Who's saying that?
Zarian. But my point was, what was my point when it came to hair? Zarian just made me lose my thought. There's just a simplicity to everything. Everyone thinks things are so fucking complicated. And there's just a simplicity to so much. And while this is a difficult industry to navigate, basically, I'll tell you what I was going to say. He basically said, he's a best-selling author. He's on all the podcasts. He's a very interesting guy. He's written another book, which is great. But he said that he would do much better on social media himself, and even in his book sales, if he was able to say something sexy like, do these 5 things and you'll be rich. It's not sexy to say, spend less than you earn and invest your money in index funds from a young age. You will die rich. That's not sexy. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with day trading.
Doesn't have to do with it doesn't have to do with lots of money in a short amount of time.
You know how fast time flies? So anyway, basically that's the kind of shit that sells, and I guess that's my point. I can do videos on top 5 things to stop your hair loss, top 5 reasons why not to have a hair transplant, top 5 reasons to have a hair transplant, top 5 reasons why, or the top 5 products that work for hair loss. That's the kind of bullshit that gets attention. They want answers. That's it. They want fucking answers. They don't want to do any research. They don't want to be told, you know what? You got about a 50-50 chance at this point of maintaining your hair for a few more decades. If you make all the right
So what you're
moves.
trying to say is people are lazy. That's what you're trying to say.
People are lazy. They also don't want to hear the truth. They don't believe that there can't be help out there. But I can tell you, if it's 50%, that's a lot. Now, can you stall the process for the 50% that won't get long-term results with anything? Yes. But that's how you have to kind of go into it. You have to go into it thinking, all right, I want to try to stall this process for as long as I can. That also includes, this is what Sever said in his video, in hair transplant surgery. Sometimes that is just stalling the inevitable, giving you more time in your life, feeling comfortable in your own skin until you can become comfortable being a balding guy. Just that decade of taking medication and having a standalone hair transplant that doesn't leave you scarred up, like visibly scarred up, that can get you to a point in your life where you're like, you know what? I'm probably not going to have this head of hair for the rest of my life, but I'm pretty good. And I'm glad that I had this done, and I'm glad that it gave me time to become more comfortable in my own skin. That's what everyone should be thinking when they're getting any of these treatments. If you're lucky, you can be a 60-year-old guy with your hair. But maybe 50, 40% of the people out there who start young, who do all the right thing, can maintain it for decades. Camera just went black, dude.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
That's weird.
hold on. I called 3 times. Dude, we have lines open. Call in if you want. Otherwise, I'm leaving. If you're listening. Andrew Zarian, if you want to call in, the lines are open. Otherwise, I'm going home. Joe's camera went black. I mean, this is actually a better shot. Anyway. Is your camera on yet?
Both my it's
What happened?
It's my. Hold on a second.
It's that
I think
goddamn
it's
new
my,
rig that you set up.
No, it's my HDMI box, my switcher. Hang on a second. I just unplugged it. And
Guys, phone number is 888-659-3727. Apparently, Joe wants to stay on the air.
I think it's dying on me.
Good night, Connor.
Yeah.
So Adrian's like, he doesn't understand why patients don't speak to their doctors. I'm gonna tell you something, Adrian, and I hope that everyone takes this in the spirit that's meant. And I think most people who've figured it out know this. I don't know what it is, but I think there's a large percentage of people who decide to have cosmetic surgery who aren't the sharpest tools in the shed to begin with. And that sounds fucked up. I understand that. But most people go into all forms of cosmetic surgery with very little knowledge of the real downsides and the real possibilities. And they also don't understand that, these doctors are essentially working for you. You sign on that dotted line, they're working for you. Now, you want to treat them with respect and dignity just like you would want to be treated, but they're there to answer your questions if you have any issues. Are you done, Joe?
No. Still trying.
They're there to answer your questions. You don't want to go on Reddit or onto a message forum. I don't know what's more dangerous, honestly. I would say I am, and I keep saying that we're going to re-up All Truth Talk and, get that out there because you guys are still posting on it, or there are people still posting on it. A lot of people still read it, all the old stuff on there. So it's something that can be resuscitated very quickly to the point where it becomes very busy. But it's just, they're so dangerous. These places are so dangerous. I think the one advantage of All Truth Talk, if I could be completely candid, is that, and I'll take your call in a second, caller, is that we don't allow any bullshit from the peanut gallery. At least we didn't when we were really active. If physicians post, that's it. No one's going to be able to destroy the confidence of someone who gave permission to have their pictures put up online by chiming in some anonymous fucking caller. And moderators aren't going to be able to control the flow of information by creating false users.
Yeah.
Anyone who goes on these forums honestly and trusts them fully and thinks they're always talking to a real person that has their best interest in mind, you're fucking fools. Mm-hmm. I've been in the back end of forums. It was by accident. It's one forum, very well known, around for a long time. They opened up their back end to the public. I happened to see it. I was like, what the fuck is this? We just copied it all, and we went through it. And it was the moderator. It happened several times. Also, clinic people. But it was a moderator who was having a conversation. And it looked like it was 5 or 6 people having a conversation several times. And it was one IP address. Telling people to avoid a certain surgeon or bashing somebody or bashing. I mean, it was fucking insane. And then the cherry on top is people who worked at clinics and doctors were were phony users, answering questions, bashing people publicly and on the back end of the site. Private messages were open. It was a fucking free-for-all. That's why when we started Ball Tree Talk, it was like no DMs, no private messaging. We know how it works. Someone asks about a doctor. A consultant swoops in and says, don't go to this guy. I went to this guy, and this is what he did for me. And the guy works for the clinic.
Yeah.
Fucking,
By the way,
you guys are idiots. I'm sorry.
My video's back up, I think.
No, I'm up.
See me?
I see myself twice. Hey, caller, you're on the air. Who's this?
This is Mike from Oregon.
Mike from Oregon. What's happening, brother?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So I've been a long time, well, not too long, but a couple-year listener and first-time caller, and I had just a couple questions. I'm 3 months out from a hair transplant with Dr. Stephen Gable of Portland, Oregon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think I've heard of him.
Right. He's been on the show.
Yeah.
I've seen it. But my question is, and I could ask him, but I figure I ask you guys because you guys are dope and you know everything. But and he's busy all the time.
That is true.
We can't argue with that.
Oh, first of all, I just want to let you know he should not be busy all the time for his patient. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? He's always really like through email. He's always really cool and responsive. But I figure I'd call the show because you guys know just as much, you know. But
that is
so my question
probably
is,
true.
He gave me
a wise man.
Right.
He gave you what?
He gave me a prescription for oral minoxidil, and he has me going from a quarter tablet. I believe it's 2.5 milligrams, the whole tablet. So he has me going quarter tablet a month till I get to a full tablet, and I'm at three quarters of a tablet now. And
a quarter of a tablet a month or a quarter of a tablet a week?
Yeah, every month he wants me to increase the dose by a quarter of a tablet.
I see.
And the full tablet is 2.5 milligrams.
All right, so you're taking it every day, but every month you're increasing the dosage.
Correct.
Okay.
So, so my question is, could I still use topical minoxidil once a day, full cap of the foam, until I get to the full dose, or am I just wasting my money?
Well, it's not about wasting your money. That's not what you should be thinking. You should be thinking, will this throw me into a shed if I stop using this topical product that I'm stuck on like crack at this point?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So the shed thing, it's like I'm shedding anyways. My hair transplant was January 23rd, so I'm no longer in the shed anyways, but when I started taking the oral minoxidil, I was deep into the shed anyways, so...
Okay, so oral minoxidil really threw you into an effluvium.
Well, I think the hair transplant did anyways.
Well, that can do it as well.
That could too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he provided, like... Actually, to tell you the truth, it wasn't really a bad shed. It was like... I was probably like a Norwood 2. So, you know, the hair that I had was already like... I was like thinning on the top, you know, but... So it was really hard to tell what was the transplanted hairs going away and which was just my thin hair that was natural. So, yeah, he gave me hyperbaric for 3 days, 90-minute sessions. So I think that helped with the healing and the shedding. So it was hard to tell if I was shedding anyways, but at that point I didn't care, so I just went ahead and did the oral minoxidil.
Well, listen, we're not physicians, and I'll let Joe respond to this as well, obviously. But if you've gone through the major effluvium after the transplant and the oral minoxidil, and you think things are calming down now, is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
okay.
I'm just a little over 3 months, and, you know, obviously I'm not going to be like, oh, the results are great, because I know how it goes, but my hair looks back to baseline, if not a little bit thicker in the hairline.
Okay. Well, just know that it's possible that just by switching your med, just by getting off the topical, that you can go through somewhat of a shed. But there is some protection there. This is not medical advice. This is just based on the information that we have.
Yes.
You are now getting some of that effluvium protection from the oral minoxidil. But I would still
Right.
really take my time weaning off topical. I wouldn't just stop it.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
So just like you are titrating or weaning on your oral minoxidil, I think that you want to slowly wean off of your topical minoxidil. Now, I don't know if Joe agrees with that. Joe's been very, very contradictory lately, but we'll see.
Right.
I've not been contradictory.
You've been right.
Wait, that's contradictory.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this. Well, I actually got a question. So you were taking topical minoxidil. Was that before surgery? Like, was that something that you were doing for quite a while?
Since 2010, I've been doing minoxidil. I used to do it twice a day, and then I kind of did a full cap. Like, I'd say about 5 years ago, I was like, screw doing it twice a day. It's weird to have that stuff on your pillow at night. So I just do it once in the morning, and I kind of double the dose.
Okay. So, so I have to assume that Dr. Gable knew that you're taking topical minoxidil.
Yeah, and he told me to stop like a month before surgery.
Right. And then what was the discussion about resuming topical post-surgery?
1 month post, he said I could resume.
Okay. So he prescribed oral minoxidil knowing that you're taking topical.
Yeah, but I told him I told him that I was going to get off of I didn't want to do topical anymore. But for some reason, like when you're for some reason after a hair transplant, and you probably know this, Joe, you want to like kind of throw the kitchen sink at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I was like, I want to do everything now. And it's like, yeah, but after listening to you guys a bunch, you don't want to do that because then you don't know exactly what is working. So if you want to quit one, you don't know if you're going to go into the shed. Yeah.
No,
so now I know.
That's exactly right. And so with Doc prescribing oral, expecting that you were getting off of topical, weaning yourself off, that makes complete sense. So I agree with Spencer. It's like if you're going to wean yourself off of topical, which there's nothing wrong in doing that, make sure you actually wean yourself off of topical and not quit cold turkey, because that could send things into a tailspin.
Yeah. Okay. And then what?
And do it slow, like over the course of several months. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to weaning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so over the course of several months, and I do want to for sure wean. Correct? I shouldn't do both of them.
Well, no, I mean, listen. I'm not a physician. I got to keep saying that like an idiot.
Yeah.
But it probably isn't going to do you any harm to continue doing both as long as you don't feel any adverse effects. But the problem is, I mean, there is a increased chance of adverse effects. It doesn't mean that you're going to have them. Some people just have adverse effects just from topical alone, racing heart, shit like that. So you're putting more of the drug into your body. With that said, I took over a year to wean off minoxidil, so I don't know what the fuck Joe's talking about. But
okay, so over a year.
I mean, but I was also super paranoid, and all I had was finasteride at the time. I didn't think minoxidil was working for me anymore anyway, because I had diminishing results before I got on finasteride when I was able to get myself on it, but I just stayed on it because I didn't want to go through. I already knew that you could shed from it. So I took about a year, and they were also sponsoring the program back in the day, so I had to stay on it. So I'm just kidding. Well, kind of. But,
okay, I was going to say, you had free supply.
Yeah. Well, no, actually. I mean, luckily, having a pharmaceutical company sponsoring a radio show, you don't need anything for free. Just let them keep paying the bills. But with that said, I think that if you want to get off of it, now is a good time to start to wean. Just do it slowly. Okay. Maybe try to do it, start with either a little bit less every day, or maybe drop it down to every other day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, I think I'll do that over the course of a year. And it's crazy the prices that are. I mean, they're getting out of hand. It used to, when I first started Rogaine, it was like $30 for three of the foams.
How old are you?
46 now.
Okay, you're younger than me, but yeah, I was thinking this. So when I was on it, it wasn't even Rogaine yet. But when Rogaine finally came out, it was pretty cheap at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, and you were using brand name?
Yeah, brand name.
Yeah.
I've only done. I did a couple months of the Costco brand, but it kind of I started shedding, so I instantly went and.
But isn't that amazing? And that's just another example of every time you switch, it's not necessarily that the generic was bad. It's just changing. You're basically changing medication to some degree.
Right.
And no one gets that. No one. Everyone thinks all doctors push it, and pharmacists all say that all generics are the same. They are not. It's not just with hair.
Right. Yeah, it's anything that throws off the balance. It's like people forget how delicate their hair follicles are, and they know when something's been altered. It's a shift.
100%. Mm-hmm. Well, look, man, I think you're in good shape. You went to a good doctor. He's become extremely political in the hair world, but he's good at what he does.
Yeah, he's such a great guy, though, man. That dude is so funny. It's like it's really the best time that you could have getting 2,200 holes in the back of your head and in the top of your head. He's great. He has a great staff and everything. He's awesome.
Well, listen, I'm glad you had a good experience with him. And again, I'm busting his balls because he did become extremely political and very not a fan of necessarily, I believe, what we do because we kind of say it like it is about the ABHRS and the ISHRS, but he's a fucking good doctor. So
he is a great doctor. Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, he is in Portland, so you kind of got to run with the pack there.
Yeah,
or else
that's good.
You get blackballed, dude. So.
Well, I think that was a concern of his as well, but who knows? But anyway, good doctor. I got nothing bad to say about his work, and his patients come away with it like very similar experience as you. Mm-hmm. Always very pleasant staff, and usually has really good results. So I think you're going to do well.
Definitely, he's a great artist. I'll say that. Great doctor, great artist.
Well, I'm glad you found him, man. And you're in Portland, or did you travel to Portland?
Yeah, I traveled. I'm about 4 hours south. I'm right on the California border.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on.
Well, brother,
well,
listen,
thanks for the advice.
Good luck.
I have one more question, if you don't mind. I don't want to get like May over here, but
yeah. Jesus.
So the sauna is the sauna something that I could do now, being post-op 3 months, 3.3, or whatever?
Generally speaking, yes. But that is something that you need to ask the clinic because different clinics. I don't know what the protocol is for recovery at his clinic, or at least not anymore. I would throw an email his way or text, depending on what kind of connection you got with him. Ask that quick question. It's a very common question, but the answers are different from one clinic to the next. So always ask the clinic that kind of question. I personally, I think it's fine. Because my logic is once the incisions have closed after 7 to 10 days and everything's anchored in there, then nothing's going to harm it. And the concern is that if you're sweating, then the sweat on top of the scalp as it moves along the scalp as it beads and moves around, if one area of your scalp has an infection, it carries it to other areas of the scalp and those incisions. So some of the grafts can become infected, and then it just becomes this big issue. So that's the logic behind why most clinics don't want to have you in a sauna or that type of situation so soon after surgery. But afterwards, different clinics will have different time frames. I've seen no earlier than 6 months, which is way too extreme in my view. And I've seen some clinics saying after 2 weeks you're fine. So the truth with him could be somewhere in between.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'll just ask him. All right, well, thank you guys so much for answering those questions, and I appreciate everything you guys do, man.
All right, brother. Awesome. Say hi to Steve for me. Take it easy.
Yeah, we'll do.
Say hi to Steve.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, have a good night,
Cheers,
guys.
buddy.
Right.
Bye-bye.
I'm afraid that we get another call, but I don't know if I want to take it.
We don't have to, man. It's 10 after 5.
All right. I'm tired anyway.
Time to wind down.
Yeah. All right, guys, listen. Now all the lines are lit. Isn't that too fucking bad?
You guys waited.
You guys waited.
Too late.
Too late. All right, guys, we're gonna go. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You follow me on Instagram at Spencer Kobren. Follow at Real Joe Tillman. Right.
Yep.
On Instagram.
No. Joe Tillman official on Instagram.
He doesn't even know his own Instagram.
That was Twitter. Real Joe Tillman.
At Joe Tillman official. At Spencer Kobren. I'd like to see 50 new followers right now. Just fucking go over there and follow me. Nobody knows who you are. Or start a new account and follow me. If you're so concerned about people knowing that you're concerned about your hair loss.
Do it. Do it. And like this broadcast.
Yeah. We make no money from this fucking effort. Understand that, people. Both Joseph and I can turn off this camera and continue to do what we do. And that's it.
And it'll make no difference.
And it makes no difference. So we're trying to make a difference in your lives, as hokey as that sounds, as Pollyannish as that sounds, by coming out here and doing this broadcast and me doing Instagram, which is a pain in the fucking balls, by the way. But I do it, you know. A lot of people find me, and we were able to change the trajectory of their lives, or at least give them a sense of pause before they make their fucked up decision. Because some of them still make the fucked up decision.
They still do it.
They still do it.
But at least they can look. At least they can look back and say, "Damn you, Kobren!
You told
and
me
Tillman,
so.
I should have listened."
Yeah.
Brother
That's
Coop,
not what happens.
what's up, fella?
What happens
No, it's
is
not.
they make the mistake and they're like, "You didn't explain it well enough."
Yeah. Yeah.
How much more do
Or
you need
use
to
your
hear?
Jedi mind tricks. Talk me into it.
Yeah. How much more do you need to hear? Hair transplant's the last resort. Your hair transplant's probably not going to last forever. You're going to need more than one hair transplant. Once you're cut, you're cut. What the fuck else do you have to tell people? All right, guys. Until next time, be strong. God bless. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.